Reed Holston's hands were shaking not from the cold, but from what lay dying in the snow at his feet. An Apache child. Barely breathing. He'd spent 6 years avoiding people hiding from his own guilt, and now God or fate, or plain bad luck, had dropped this impossible choice right in his path. Pick him up and risk everything. Walk away and lose what's left of his soul. 4 days later, 3 Apache women would stand at his door, and nothing would ever be the same. Before we begin, if you enjoy stories of courage, redemption, and the families we choose, please subscribe to our channel. And comment below with your city. I want to see how far this story travels. Now, let's begin. The boy's lips were blue. Reed Holston knelt in the snow, his knees popping loud enough to startle the crows, picking at frozen sage nearby. The child couldn't have been more than 7 ribs, pressing through skin like piano keys, frost gathering on his eyelashes, bare feet already turning black at the toes. Jesus Christ! Reed's breath came out white and shaking. He looked around. Nothing but white plains stretching to mountains that didn't care. No tracks, except the small, desperate trail the child had left zigzagging, stumbling the gait of someone already half dead. No family. No camp smoke. No explanation for why an Apache boy was dying alone on Reed's land in the middle of February. Reed's horse shifted behind him, nervous. "I know, girl," Reed muttered. "I know." This was trouble, the kind that got men killed. The wars were officially over, but you wouldn't know it out here. Just last month, rancher named Collins got burned out for hiring Apache workers. The month before that, a family disappeared. Some said soldiers, some said raiders. Nobody said the truth because the truth was ugly and complicated, and everyone had blood on their hands. Taking in an Apache child wasn't charity. It was suicide. Reed pulled off his coat anyway. The cold hit him like a punch, but he wrapped the heavy wool around the boy and lifted him. Light as kindling. Sharp bones and too loose skin, and that terrible smell, not death yet, but close enough to shake hands with it. Mary would have done it without thinking. His wife had been like that. Saw someone hurting and just moved, no hesitation, no fear of consequences. Reed used to call her reckless. Now he'd give anything to be that brave again. "Stay with me, kid," Reed said, though the boy's eyes stayed closed. "Just stay with me." The walk back took 20 minutes, but felt like hours. Reed's arms cramped. His chest ached from cold, but the boy kept breathing shallow, rattling breaths that Reed counted like prayers. 1, 2, 3, still alive. 4, 5, 6, don't you dare die on me. Inside his cabin, Reed kicked the door shut and went straight to the fireplace. The coals had burned down to almost nothing. But his hands remembered the work, kindling larger pieces, breath to coax flame. Within minutes, fire roared. Reed laid the boy on his bed and piled on every blanket he owned. Wool, cotton, a quilt. Mary had made their first winter. He tucked them tight, then pressed his fingers to the boy's neck. Pulse. Faint, but there. Okay, we can work with that. Water first. Reed heated it on the stove, not too hot, barely warm, then dipped a cloth and pressed it to the boy's cracked lips. Nothing. He tried again, squeezing drops into the child's mouth. A swallow. Small, automatic, but real. That's it. Good. Come on. Reed worked for 3 hours straight. Water, then broth made from salt pork, and the last of his vegetables, then more water. The boy never woke, but color crept back into his face. His breathing smoothed out. His fingers, which had been rigid with cold, slowly uncurled. When Reed finally sat back, his own hands were shaking again. He'd done it. Somehow, impossibly, he'd pulled this child back from the edge. "You're one tough little bastard," Reed said quietly. "I'll give you that." The fire crackled. Wind screamed outside. Reed looked around his cabin, small, sparse, clean, because there was nothing in it to make dirty. 1 chair, 1 table, 1 plate, 1 cup, 1 fork. A man's life shrunk down to only what he needed to survive and nothing more. For 6 years, this had been enough. More than enough. Reed had wanted the emptiness, craved it, because emptiness didn't hurt the way memory did. But now, looking at the small shape under his blankets, Reed felt something crack open in his chest. Something he'd kept locked down tight since the day he'd come home to find Mary and little Sarah gone. Fever took them both in 3 days, the neighbor said, buried them proper behind the house, and Reed had stood over those 2 graves and sworn he'd never let himself care about another living soul. "Damn it," Reed whispered to the empty room. "What the hell am I doing?" The boy slept through the night. Reed didn't. He sat in his chair watching the child breathe, watching firelight play across the walls, watching shadows that sometimes looked like his daughter running through the cabin the way she used to, laughing, always laughing. Sarah would have been 13 now. She'd have loved having a little brother. Reed scrubbed his hands over his face. Get it together. The boy wasn't his son. This wasn't his second chance. This was just a kid who needed help, and once he was strong enough, Reed would figure out where he belonged and get him there. Simple. Clean. No attachments. Except when dawn broke and the boy's eyes opened dark and sharp, and instantly aware, Reed felt that crack in his chest split a little wider. "Easy," Reed said, raising his hands. "You're safe." The boy's eyes darted around the room, the walls, the window, the door, calculating, looking for exits, for weapons, for threats. His gaze landed back on Reed and stayed there unblinking. "You understand English?" No answer. But something in the boy's face said yes. "You hungry?" The boy's eyes flicked to the pot on the stove. That was answer enough. Reed ladled soup into a bowl and brought it over slowly. The boy watched every movement like a hawk watching a snake. When Reed held out the bowl, the child's hand shot out fast, grabbing it so hard, soup sloshed over the side. He drank it desperately, both hands wrapped around the ceramic eyes, never leaving Reed's face. "Slow down. You'll make yourself sick." The boy ignored him, draining the bowl in seconds, then holding it out for more. Reed refilled it. "What's your name?" "Nothing." "Where's your family?" "Nothing." "Someone looking for you." The boy drank the second bowl just as fast, then curled onto his side, still watching Reed with those old eyes. Within minutes, he was asleep again. Reed washed the bowl and stared out at the morning. Pink light on white snow. Beautiful and brutal, and completely indifferent to whatever happened here. "Well," Reed said to nobody, "guess we'll figure it out." Day 2 started with the boy eating everything Reed put in front of him. Soup, bread, dried venison. He ate like each meal might be his last, fast, focused, efficient. Never a word, but his eyes tracked Reed everywhere. When Reed moved toward the door, the boy tensed. When Reed turned back to the stove, the boy relaxed slightly, reading him, learning him, deciding if Reed was a threat or something else. Smart kid. Out here, that kind of awareness kept you alive. "You got a name?" Reed asked that evening, sitting across from the boy at the small table. "I'm Reed. Reed Holston. I know you understand me, so you might as well answer." The boy stared at him. "Fine, don't talk, but I'm calling you something, so speak up if you don't like it." No response. "How about boy, real creative, right?" The faintest flicker crossed the child's face. Annoyance, maybe, or amusement. Hard to tell. Reed almost smiled. "Thought so." That night, Reed slept in his chair again. When he woke before dawn, old army habit, he'd never shaken, the boy was sitting up in bed watching him. "How long you been awake?" Reed asked. No answer. But from the alert look in the boy's eyes, a while. "You feel strong enough to walk around?" The boy slid out of bed slowly. His legs shook, but he stayed upright. Took 1 step, 2, 3. His face remained blank, but Reed saw the concentration it took, the sheer force of will keeping him moving. "Good. You're tougher than you look." The boy walked to the window and pressed his small hand against the cold glass, staring out at the empty white landscape. "You looking for someone?" Reed asked gently. The boy's shoulders went rigid. "They out there. Your people." Silence. But the boy's hand curled into a fist against the window. Reed came to stand beside him. Outside, nothing moved, just snow and wind and sky. "Listen, kid. I don't know what happened to you. I don't know where your family is. But right now, you're here and you're safe. That's all that matters." The boy turned his head slowly, looking up at Reed with an expression too old for his face. "I mean it," Reed said. "Nobody's gonna hurt you while you're under my roof." The boy studied him for a long moment, measuring, weighing, deciding. Then he looked back out the window, his fist slowly uncurling. They stood there together in the quiet dawn, and Reed thought about Sarah again. How she used to stand at this same window watching for him to come home. How she'd press her hands to the glass just like this, leaving small handprints that Mary never wiped away, because she said they were proof someone lived here, someone loved here. Reed hadn't thought about those handprints in years. Couldn't afford to. But looking at this boy now, he let himself remember for just a moment. Let himself feel it. Then he cleared his throat. "Come on, let's get some breakfast in you." Day 3, the boy spoke. Reed was pouring coffee when he heard it. One word, quiet but clear. "Tojo." Reed turned. "What?" The boy pointed at himself. "Tojo." "That your name?" A small nod. "Tojo." Reed tested it. "That's a good name. Strong. I'm Reed." "Reed." Tojo repeated carefully like he was tasting it. His pronunciation was perfect. "That's right." Tojo looked at him seriously. "Why you help?" There it was. The question Reed had been asking himself for 3 days. "Because 6 years ago, I wasn't there when my family needed me, and I've spent every day since wondering if I could have saved them. Because I'm tired of being alone in this godforsaken place. Because when I looked at you dying in the snow, I saw a chance to do one thing right in a life full of things gone wrong. But you couldn't say that to a 7-year-old. "Because you needed help," Reed said simply. "That's reason enough." Tojo considered this, then nodded once like it was acceptable. "My mother say white men no help Apache. Say they kill Apache. You kill me." The question was so direct, so matter-of-fact that Reed felt something twist in his chest. "No, kid. I'm not gonna kill you." "Why not?" "Because killing you would make me the kind of man I don't want to be." Tojo tilted his head thinking. "What kind of man you want be?" Reed had to think about that. What kind of man did he want to be? He'd been so many kinds already. Soldier husband, father, widower, hermit. None of them had stuck. None of them had felt right after Mary and Sarah died. "I want to be the kind of man who helps," Reed finally said. "Even when it's hard. Even when it's dangerous. That's the kind of man your mother would have wanted me to be, I think." "You know my mother." "No. But I figure any woman who raises a tough kid like you must be pretty special." Tojo's face softened slightly. "She is special. She is." He searched for the word. "Strong. Very strong. She alive?" Tojo's face went still. "Don't know." "What happened?" For a long moment Tojo said nothing. Then quietly, "Soldiers come. Nighttime. Fire everywhere. Guns, screaming. Mother hide me in rocks. Tell me, run when safe. I wait. Wait long time. Then run. Run many days. Cold. Hungry. Then you find me." Reed's jaw clenched. Another massacre. Another camp burned. He'd heard about these operations, read the sanitized reports in the newspapers that called them necessary actions and peacekeeping measures. But sitting across from a 7-year-old survivor made those words taste like ash. "Your mother," Reed said carefully, You think she made it out? Maybe. She very smart, very fast. But Tojo's voice wavered. Or maybe she dead. I don't know. How long you been running? Many days. Maybe 6, maybe 7. Lose count. A 7-year-old child alone in winter running for his life. The fact that he'd survived at all was a miracle. The fact that he was sitting here talking about it with such calm detachment was heartbreaking. Well, Reed said, you're not running anymore. You're staying here until you're strong. Then we'll figure out what comes next. Tojo looked at him with those two knowing eyes. You keep me. For now, yeah. Why? I already told you. That not reason. White man no help Apache for no reason. What you want? Reed sighed. This kid had learned too young that kindness had a price. You're probably right. Most people do want something. But me, I just want you to live. That enough for you? Tojo held his gaze for a long moment. Then slowly he nodded. It was a start. Day 4 began with frost on the windows and Reed's back screaming from another night in the chair. He opened his eyes to find Tojo already awake, sitting cross-legged on the bed watching him. Morning, Reed said, stretching. His spine cracked. You hungry? But Tojo wasn't looking at him anymore. He was looking past him out the window, his whole body suddenly tense. Reed turned. 3 figures were climbing the ridge toward his cabin. Women. Apache women from their clothing and the way they moved, cautious, alert, weapons visible. Reed's blood turned to ice. Tojo, get away from the window. But Tojo was already moving not away, but toward it. His small hands slammed against the glass, his face pressed close, his breath fogging the pain. Tojo. Mother. The word ripped out of him. Mother. Then he was running for the door. Reed grabbed him. Wait. Hold on. Let me. But Tojo twisted free with surprising strength and yanked the door open. Cold air exploded in. The boy ran out into the snow in bare feet, running toward the 3 women with everything he had. Reed stood frozen in the doorway. His heart hammered. His mind raced through options. Run, hide, grab his rifle, barricade the door. But he did none of those things. Instead, he watched as the lead woman saw Tojo and stopped dead. She said something sharp, disbelieving, then she was running too, dropping to her knees in the snow as Tojo crashed into her. They held each other. The woman's shoulders shook, but she made no sound. Tojo buried his face in her neck, his small hands fisted in her clothing. Behind them, the other 2 women stood silent, watching. Then all 4 sets of eyes turned toward Reed. He stepped out onto the porch, slowly, hands visible and empty. I'm not armed. The woman holding Tojo stood lifting the boy with her. She was tall, maybe 5'8", lean and hard from a life that didn't allow softness. Her face was weathered but beautiful, her dark eyes sharp enough to cut. You have our son, she said in clear, unaccented English. Yes, ma'am. Why? Reed was getting real tired of that question. Because he was dying in my snow. What was I supposed to do? Leave him? The woman's eyes pinned him where he stood. She was looking for lies, for traps, for whatever hidden agenda a white rancher must have. Reed let her look. He had nothing to hide. Most would, she finally said. I'm not most. Clearly. She glanced at the other women, then back at Reed. Something shifted in her face, a decision made. My name is Asha. These are my sisters Ren and Tula. We have been tracking my son for 4 days. We thought... Her voice caught. We thought he was dead. He almost was, Reed said honestly. Another hour or 2, and I couldn't have saved him. Asha's arms tightened around Tojo. But you did. Yeah. Why? There it was again. Reed sighed. Because it was the right thing to do. Is that really so hard to believe? Asha's expression didn't change, but something in her eyes softened. Yes, she said quietly. It is. Fair enough. Reed couldn't argue with that. Out here, kindness was rarer than gold and twice as valuable. You traveled 4 days in this weather, Reed asked. We would travel 40. You look half frozen, all of you. Reed stepped back from the doorway. Come inside, warm up. I've got food and a fire. The three women exchanged glances. The one on the left, Wren, with a scar cutting across her cheek and eyes like flint, shook her head sharply. The one on the right, Tula, rounder and softer looking with gray threading through her hair, was already moving forward. Asha hesitated, clearly torn between caution and exhaustion. If this is a trap, Wren started. It's not a trap, Reed interrupted. I'm just one man with some soup. You really think I'm stupid enough to ambush 3 Apache women who tracked a child through a blizzard? I know better. Despite herself, Wren's mouth twitched. Not quite a smile, but close. We will come, Asha decided. But if you try anything, I won't. Come on. They filed in slowly, warily. Wren's hand never left the knife at her belt. Tula's eyes swept every corner, cataloging exits and weapons. Asha held Tojo close, whispering to him in Apache fast, urgent questions. Whatever she asked, he answered at length, gesturing toward Reed several times. Reed busied himself at the stove, ladling soup into every bowl he owned. His hands were steady, but his mind raced. 4 Apache people in his cabin. If anyone saw this, Collins or the Fletcher brothers, or God forbid the soldiers from Fort Grant, Reed wouldn't just lose his land. He'd lose his life. But when he turned and saw Asha stroking Tojo's hair, saw the naked relief on her face, saw the way Tula's eyes filled with tears she refused to shed, Reed knew he'd do it all over again. Worth it. Whatever the cost, this was worth it. Here, he said, offering bowls. It's not much, but it's hot. Asha took a bowl, her fingers brushing Reed's briefly. Her skin was cold as ice. Thank you. They sat around his table, barely big enough for 2, crowded with 5, and ate in silence. Reed watched them. Asha ate slowly, deliberately, never taking her eyes off Tojo. Tula ate with quiet appreciation, murmuring something that might have been a prayer. Wren ate like a soldier, fast, efficient eyes constantly moving between Reed and the door. So, Reed said eventually, where were you headed before you found him? Asha set down her bowl. North, to my mother's people near San Carlos. It is... She paused, searching for words. A long journey, especially in winter. How far? 4 days, maybe 5, if weather holds. That's a hell of a walk. We have no choice. Our camp was destroyed by soldiers from Fort Grant. They came in the night. Fire, guns, we scattered. I hid Tojo and told him to run. I thought I would find him after. Her voice went flat. But the soldiers chased us for 2 days. By the time I got back, he was gone. We have been tracking him since. 4 days, Reed said. You tracked him for 4 days. He is my son. Asha said simply. Like that explained everything. Maybe it did. Reed thought about Mary again. How far would she have gone for Sarah, to the ends of the earth? Through hell itself. And here was this woman who'd done exactly that, walked through winter and fear and exhaustion to find her boy. Well, Reed said, he's safe now. You all are. Wren spoke for the first time, her voice sharp as her scar. Safe here with you. A white rancher. Wren. Asha said quietly, a warning. No. Why should we trust him? What does he gain? Maybe he waits for us to sleep, then calls soldiers. Maybe there is bounty. Maybe I'm just trying to help, Reed interrupted. I know that's hard to believe. But look around. If I wanted to turn you in, I'd have done it already. I'd have left your boy in the snow. I'd have shot you when you came up that hill. But I didn't. I'm trying to help. Why? Wren demanded. What do you want from us? Nothing. I want nothing. Liar. Everyone wants something. Your nephew said the exact same thing. Reed rubbed his face. Look, I get it. You have no reason to trust me. But it's freezing outside, you've been walking for days and you're exhausted. Stay tonight. Rest. Eat. Get warm. Then if you want to leave in the morning, leave. I won't stop you. Asha and Ren had a whole conversation with just their eyes, something Reed recognized from his own marriage. Sisters who'd survived together, fought together, didn't need words to understand each other. Finally, Asha turned back to Reed. We will stay tonight. Tomorrow, we leave. All right. You have blankets. Some, I'll manage. We can share, Tula said softly. It was the first time she'd spoken. Her voice was gentle, warm. We have slept in much worse places. Reed nodded. Appreciate it. That night, Reed gave them his bed. All four of them, Asha, Tojo, Ren, and Tula, curled up together under every blanket he owned, fitting together like pieces of a puzzle. Reed sat in his chair by the fire, listening to them settle, listening to Tojo's voice, asking questions, and Asha's soft answers. He should have felt afraid. 4 Apache people in his home when just having one could get him hanged. But all he felt was peaceful. For the first time in 6 years, his cabin didn't echo with emptiness. It hummed with life breathing, shifting the small sounds of people who cared about each other. Reed pulled Mary's quilt tighter around his shoulders and closed his eyes. I think you'd like them, Mary, he whispered to the darkness. I think you'd tell me I did good. The fire crackled softly. Outside, the wind died down. And for one night, everyone was safe. Reed woke to the smell of cooking and a humming he didn't recognize. He jolted upright, disoriented. Dawn light spilled through the window, turning everything gold. The fire was built high, and Tula was at his stove humming something low and melodic as she stirred his pot. Morning, she said without turning around. Morning. Reed's voice came out rough. You didn't have to. You fed us. I cook. Fair trade. She glanced over her shoulder, smiling. Besides, you have good supplies. A shame to waste them on bad cooking. My cooking's not that bad. It is not good either. Despite everything, Reed smiled. Fair enough. He stood joints, protesting every movement, and looked around. Asha was braiding Tojo's hair by the window, her fingers moving with practiced ease. The boy sat perfectly still, watching the snow outside. Ren was nowhere to be seen. Where's... The door opened. Ren walked in, shaking snow from her shoulders. She'd been outside. Checking the perimeter, Reed realized. Making sure they were safe. Making sure no one was coming. She saw him watching and scowled. You sleep heavy. Didn't used to. Dangerous habit. Hasn't killed me yet. Yet. But there was no real heat in it. Tula laughed softly. Ren, be nice. The man gave us his bed. I am being nice. I did not kill him. That's your version of nice, Reed asked. Yes. Reed couldn't help it. He laughed. Actually laughed for the first time, and he couldn't remember how long. Ren's scowl deepened, but there might have been amusement hidden in her eyes. Food is ready, Tula announced. They ate together again, cornmeal porridge that Tula had somehow transformed into something rich and flavorful. As they ate, Asha spoke quietly. We will leave after breakfast. The weather is clear today. We can make good distance before nightfall. Where exactly are you going? Reed asked. San Carlos. 4 days north, maybe 5. In this snow, with Tojo barely recovered. Asha's jaw tightened. We have no choice. You could stay here. The words were out before Reed had fully thought them through. All 4 of them stared at him. Tojo's spoon stopped halfway to his mouth. Tula's eyes went wide. Ren's hand moved toward her knife. What? Asha said flatly. Stay here, Reed repeated, committing now. Winter's not over. Could be another storm any day. Tojo's still weak, he needs more time to heal. And the four of you traveling together, that's dangerous. Soldiers are looking for survivors, you know that. You cannot be serious, Ren said. Why not? Because you are white, we are Apache, and that alone is reason enough to refuse. Not for me. Asha was staring at him with that penetrating gaze again. Why would you do this? It puts you in danger. If soldiers come, if other ranchers see us, they will kill you. Let me worry about that. You do not understand what you risk. Reed met her eyes. My wife died 6 years ago. Fever took her and our daughter both. I wasn't here. I was off buying supplies 3 days away. Came home to fresh graves and a neighbor telling me they suffered. That they called for me. That I wasn't there. He paused. I've spent 6 years wishing I could have saved them. Wishing I'd been there. And I can't change that. But I can be here now. For you. For Tojo. So yeah, maybe I don't understand all the risks, but I'm offering anyway. Silence filled the cabin. Heavy, weighted silence. Tojo broke it. I want stay. Tojo, Asha said. Please, mother. He saved me. He is kind. I want stay. Asha closed her eyes. When she opened them, they were bright with unshed tears. If we stay, it puts him in danger. Then we protect him, Tula said softly, as he protected Tojo. Tula. She is right, Ren said grudgingly. If white man is stupid enough to offer, we are stupid enough to accept. We need rest. Tojo needs time, and... She looked at Reed. You have honor, I see it. Rare thing. Asha looked at each of her sisters, then at Tojo, then finally at Reed. He could see her weighing it, safety versus danger, pride versus pragmatism, hope versus fear. 1 month, she said finally. We stay 1 month, until Tojo is fully healed. Then we must go to my mother's people. 1 month, Reed agreed. Deal. Asha stood and walked to him. She held out her hand. Reed took it. Her grip was strong, calloused from work and survival, and warm despite the cold. Thank you, she said quietly. For my son. For us. I do not understand why you do this, but... Thank you. You're welcome. They shook, and Reed felt something shift in his chest, that crack that had opened when he found Tojo split wider, letting in light he hadn't felt in years. He had a family now. Not the one he'd lost, not the one he'd expected, but a family nonetheless. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. The first full day together started with Ren teaching Reed how to die. You stand like target, she said, circling him in the snow behind the cabin. Shoulders square, chest out, stupid. Reed shifted his weight. I'm not trying to fight. I'm just standing. Exactly. Stupid. She moved behind him fast, her knife pressed to his ribs before he could react. Dead. Soldier sees you like this, you are dead. Ren? Asha called from the doorway. Leave him alone. I am helping. He needs help. He needs breakfast. We all do. Ren lowered the knife, but didn't step back. Tonight. I teach you proper. If you keep us, you must learn to fight. I know how to fight. You know how white man fights. Stand in line, shoot gun march like fool. I teach you how to survive. She walked past him toward the cabin, then paused. You saved my nephew, so I keep you alive. Fair trade. Reed watched her go, then looked down at where her knife had been. She was right. He'd gotten soft out of here alone. 6 years of seeing nobody needing nobody had made him careless. Inside, Tula had made something with eggs and wild onions she'd found God knew where in the middle of winter. Tojo sat at the table, his hair freshly braided, looking stronger than yesterday. Asha stood by the window watching the ridge. Expecting someone, Reed asked. Always expecting someone. She didn't turn. Soldiers patrol this area. Sometimes. Fort Grant sends riders through once a month maybe. Usually stick to the main trails. And neighbors? Nearest ranch is 8 miles east. Collins. He's not friendly. Meaning if he sees you, we'll have problems. Asha nodded slowly. Then we stay hidden. No fires during day. No smoke signals. We are ghosts. It's the middle of winter. We need fire. Small fire. Low smoke. We manage. She finally turned to face him. This is how we survive, Reed. We become invisible. Reed wanted to argue, but looking at her face hard, determined, scarred by experience, he knew she was right. They'd survived this long by being careful. He needed to learn from that. They ate quickly. After breakfast, Tula and Asha started sorting through Reed's supplies, making quiet plans. Reed heard words in Apache mixed with English food rationing, water storage, emergency exits. They were preparing for siege mentality, and it made Reed's chest tight, thinking about what they'd been through to develop these instincts. Tojo appeared at Reed's elbow. You have horse? Yeah, in the barn. Why? I want see. Reed glanced at Asha. She nodded permission. Outside the barn was cold but dry. Reed's mare, Greta, huffed at their approach. Tojo stopped in the doorway, suddenly shy. She won't hurt you, Reed said. Come on. Tojo crept forward. Greta lowered her head, sniffing the boy. Tojo's hand came up slowly, touching her nose. The horse nickered softly. She likes you, Reed said. How you know? Because she hasn't bitten you yet. That's how Greta shows affection. Tojo almost smiled. Almost. My father had horse. Big horse. Strong. He let me ride sometimes. Past tense. Reed caught it. Your father? Dead. 2 winters ago. Sickness. Tojo kept stroking Greta's nose. He was brave. Good hunter. Mothers say I look like him. I bet you do. You have children. The question hit Reed like a fist. He hadn't talked about Sarah in years. Couldn't. But looking at Tojo's open, curious face, Reed found himself answering. I had a daughter. Sarah. She'd be about 13 now. She died when she was 7. Same age as you. How'd she die? Fever. Same sickness that took her mother. Tojo nodded solemnly. Many people die from fever. Bad sickness. Yeah, bad sickness. They stood there in the quiet barn, 2 people who'd lost everything connected by grief. They were too young and too old to fully express. You miss her? Tojo asked. Every day. I miss my father every day too. Tojo looked up at Reed. But he tell me before he die, sadness is okay. But staying in sadness forever is not living, is just waiting to die too. Reed's throat went tight. Your father was a wise man. Yes, very wise. Tojo turned back to Greta. You teach me ride horse. Yeah, kid, I'll teach you. When they came back inside, Asha was waiting. She pulled Tojo close, checking him over like he might have disappeared in the 10 minutes they were gone. We were just looking at the horse, Reed said. I know, but I still worry. She kissed Tojo's head. Old habit. The rest of the morning passed in quiet domestic work. Wren disappeared outside again. Reed suspected she was scouting the area, learning the land. Smart. Tula organized the pantry with frightening efficiency, muttering about waste and poor planning. Asha taught Tojo his lessons in Apache by the fire. Their voices rising and falling in a language Reed didn't understand but found beautiful anyway. Around noon, Reed went to chop wood. He'd made it through half a cord when Asha appeared beside him. You will hurt yourself swinging like that. I've been chopping wood for 20 years. And you have been doing it wrong for 20 years. She held out her hand. May I? Reed handed her the axe. She tested its weight, then swung smooth efficient, the blade biting deep and clean. The log split perfectly. See, use the weight. Let gravity help. You fight too much. Reed took the axe back and tried to copy her motion. Better, but not perfect. Again, Asha said. They worked together for an hour, Asha correcting his form, Reed learning to let the axe do the work. It was strangely intimate, her hands adjusting his grip, her voice low and patient, the rhythm of their breathing syncing up as they fell into a pattern. "You are a good student," she said finally. "You're a good teacher. I have taught Tojo many things. Hunting, tracking, how to read the sky. All children must learn to survive." "He's lucky to have you." Asha's face softened. "I am lucky to have him. When his father died, I thought I would die too. The grief was enormous, but Tojo needed me, so I lived. For him." Reed understood that. "My wife used to say that grief is just love with nowhere to go." "Your wife was wise." "She was." Reed split another log. "You loved him, Tojo's father." "Very much. He was good man, strong, kind. He made me laugh." She smiled at the memory. "We were supposed to grow old together, have many grandchildren. Instead, I have his memory and our son. It is enough. It has to be." They worked in silence for a while. Then Asha spoke again. "Why you never remarry?" Reed stopped mid-swing. "Didn't seem right, like I'd be replacing them." "You cannot replace people. You can only make room for new ones." "Maybe, but I never met anyone who made me want to try." Asha looked at him, then really looked at him. Her dark eyes searched his face for something. Whatever she found made her nod slowly. "I understand," she said quietly. "After my husband died, many men wanted to marry me. But I could not. The idea of another man in his place felt wrong, like betrayal." "Exactly. But Tula tells me that is foolish thinking. She says our dead would want us to be happy, to live fully." "Tula sounds smart." "She is. Much smarter than me." Asha picked up a piece of wood, turning it over in her hands. "She was married once too, long time ago. Her husband was killed by settlers who wanted their land. She was pregnant, lost the baby from the shock. After that, she never wanted to marry again. Said her heart was too broken to give away." "Jesus, I'm sorry." "This land is full of sorry stories, Reed. Yours, mine, Tula's, Ren's. Everyone has lost someone. Everyone carries ghosts." She set down the wood. "But maybe that is why we understand each other. We all know what it means to keep living when you do not want to." Reed couldn't argue with that. That evening, Ren made good on her promise. She dragged Reed outside after supper and spent 2 hours teaching him how to move, how to see, how to think, like someone who expected danger from every direction. "Watch shadows," she said. "Listen to birds. If they stop singing, something is wrong. Feel wind on your face tells you which direction danger comes from." Reed tried to absorb it all. Ren was a harsh teacher but thorough. She showed him pressure points, how to disarm someone with a knife, how to fight dirty when fighting fair would get you killed. "Why are you teaching me this?" Reed asked during a water break. "Because you are weak, and weakness gets people killed." "That's not an answer." Ren was quiet for a moment. "My sister trusts you. Tojo trusts you. So I make you less stupid, so when danger comes you do not die like fool and leave them unprotected. You care about them." "Of course I care. They are my family." She said it like it was obvious, like caring about family was the most natural thing in the world. Family is everything. Without family, we are nothing. "I don't have family anymore." Ren looked at him hard. "You have family now, whether you know it or not." That night they all sat around the fire. Tula told stories in Apache that Tojo translated haltingly tales of coyote tricksters and brave warriors and women who outsmarted men. Everyone laughed in the right places. Even Ren smiled once or twice. Reed sat in his chair watching them, feeling like he was looking through a window at a life he'd forgotten existed. Connection. Belonging. The simple warmth of people who cared about each other. Asha caught him staring. "What are you thinking?" "That my cabin's never been this full before." "Is that good or bad?" "Good," Reed said. "Definitely good." Later, after everyone else had gone to bed, Reed and Asha sat together by the dying fire. They didn't talk much, just sat. But the silence felt comfortable, not empty. "Thank you," Asha said finally, "for this, for all of it. You don't need to keep thanking me. Yes, I do. What you are doing, it is not small thing, it is enormous thing. Dangerous thing." "I know." "Then why?" Reed poked at the fire with a stick. "You want the honest answer?" "Always. Because I've spent 6 years being dead inside, going through motions, surviving but not living. And then I found Tojo, and something in me woke up. Something I thought was gone forever." He looked at her. "You and your sister's Tojo, you make me feel alive again. Like maybe there's a reason I'm still here." Asha's eyes shone in the firelight. "You are good man Reed Holston." "I'm trying to be." "That is enough." She reached over and touched his hand, just briefly, just her fingers brushing his, but it sent electricity through Reed's whole body. When was the last time someone had touched him with gentleness? With care? "Good night," Asha said, standing. "Good night." Reed watched her go, then sat alone by the fire until it burned down to nothing but embers. The days fell into a rhythm after that. Mornings Reed and Asha worked together, chopping wood, tending. Greta maintaining the cabin. Tula cooked and told stories, her gentle presence a balm on everyone's nerves. Ren scouted and hunted, disappearing for hours and returning with rabbits or quail. Tojo grew stronger every day, his laugh coming easier, his nightmares coming less often. It should have felt strange, this makeshift family. Should have felt temporary. But instead, it felt right. 1 week and the first real test came. Reed was in the barn when he heard it, hoofbeats on the frozen ground. Multiple horses. Coming fast. He ran to the cabin. "Get inside. Now. Don't make a sound." Asha didn't question. She just moved, gathering Tojo and her sisters. They disappeared into the back room. Reed heard them moving things, creating hiding spots. They'd planned for this. Reed stepped onto the porch just as 3 riders came over the ridge. Soldiers. Fort Grant uniforms. His stomach dropped. The lead rider was a lieutenant Reed didn't recognize, young, maybe 25, with the cocky bearing of someone who'd never seen real combat. The other 2 were older, harder, their eyes constantly scanning. "Afternoon," the lieutenant called. "You Reed Holston?" "That's right. Lieutenant Graves, Fort Grant. We're tracking some hostiles that escaped a recent operation. Wondered if you'd seen anything unusual." Reed kept his face blank. "Unusual how?" "Apache. 3 women, 1 child. Attacked a supply convoy near the border. Killed 2 soldiers." That was a lie. Reed knew it instantly. These people hadn't attacked anyone. But the army needed a story to justify what they'd done. "Haven't seen anyone," Reed said. "I'm pretty isolated out here." Graves dismounted, his boots crunching in the snow. "Mind if we look around?" "Actually, I do. This is private property. We have authority to search for hostile combatants. You have authority to ask, and I'm saying no." The 2 older soldiers shifted in their saddles. Reed could see them calculating odds, wondering if this was worth a fight. Graves stepped closer. "You protecting someone, Holston? I'm protecting my property rights. There's a difference. You a sympathizer. I'm a man who doesn't like soldiers searching his home without cause." Graves's eyes narrowed. "We could make things difficult for you." "You could try." They stood there, tension thick as rope. Reed's heart hammered, but he kept his face calm. Behind him the cabin was silent. Too silent. Finally Graves stepped back. "You see anything, anyone you report it. Understand?" "Sure. I mean it, Holston. Harboring fugitives is a hanging offense." "I'll keep that in mind." Graves remounted. "We'll be back through next week. Your memory better improve by then." They rode off. Reed stood on the porch until they disappeared over the ridge, until the sound of hoofbeats faded completely. Then he went inside. Asha emerged from behind a false panel Ren had constructed in the back wall. Her face was pale but composed. "They will come back," she said. "I know. This is what I meant. The danger. I know that too." Ren appeared next Tojo in her arms. The boy was trembling. "We should leave, tonight." "No," Asha said. "Too dangerous. They will be watching the trails. Then we are trapped." "We are careful," Tula corrected, emerging last. "There is difference." Reed looked at all of them scared, but unbroken, hunted, but not defeated. "They can't prove anything. They can suspect all they want, but without proof they can't touch us." "You have much faith in law," Ren said bitterly. "No, I have much faith in being smarter than them." Over the next few days they were. Reed taught them his land, every hiding spot, every escape route, every place where someone could disappear if soldiers came. Ren took it all in like she was memorizing a map. Asha made them practice until everyone could vanish in under 30 seconds. But the fear lingered. It lived in the way Tojo startled at sudden noises, in the way Ren kept her knife visible now instead of hidden, in the way Asha stood at the window more watching the ridge. Reed hated it. Hated that they had to live like this. Hated that doing the right thing meant constant vigilance. One night, he found Asha outside alone, staring at the stars. "Can't sleep?" he asked. "Too many thoughts." "Want to talk about them?" She shook her head. "They are dark thoughts. You do not need my darkness." "Maybe I do. Maybe carrying it alone makes it heavier." Asha turned to him. In the moonlight, she looked younger somehow, softer. "Do you ever wish you had left Tojo in the snow, that you had kept your simple, safe life?" "No, never. Not even when soldiers come, when danger is real. Not even then." "Why not?" Reed stepped closer. "Because being safe and being alive aren't the same thing. I was safe for 6 years. And I was miserable. Now I'm in danger every day, and I'm happier than I've been since Mary died. So no, I don't regret it." "You are a strange man, Reed Holston." "Probably." Asha smiled, genuine, warm, beautiful. "Strange but good." They stood there in the cold, not touching, but close enough that Reed could feel her warmth. He wanted to reach for her, wanted to close that distance. But he didn't. Not yet. It was too soon, too complicated, too many reasons why it was a bad idea. But God, he wanted to. "We should go inside," Asha said finally, "before we freeze." "Yeah." But neither of them moved. They just stood there looking at each other, something unspoken passing between them. Finally, Asha turned toward the cabin. At the door, she paused. "Reed." "Yeah. I am glad you found my son. I am glad you are a strange man who does not listen to reason." Then she went inside, leaving Reed alone with the stars and the cold and the warmth spreading through his chest. 2 weeks in Collins came. Reed saw him riding up and knew immediately this was bad. Henry Collins was everything Reed wasn't. Loud, mean, convinced that his white skin made him superior to everyone else. He'd been trying to buy Reed's land for years, and Reed had refused every time. "Holston." Collins dismounted without invitation. "We need to talk." "About what?" "About the fact that you're harboring savages." Reed's blood went cold. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Don't play stupid. Soldiers told me they suspect you're hiding Apache. That true? No. You're lying. I can see it on your face. Collins spat in the snow. You know what happens to Indian lovers around here. I know what happens to men who trespass on my land. That a threat? It's a fact. Get off my property. Collins's face went red. You think you're better than everyone else, don't you? Living out here alone, acting all superior? Well, let me tell you something. The door opened. Wren stepped out, her knife visible at her belt. Collins went white. What the? You heard him, Wren said calmly. Leave. You're dead, Holston. You hear me? Dead. Soon as I tell the fort. Tell them what? Reed interrupted. That you saw my hired help, that I've got workers on my land. That's not illegal, Collins. Workers. She's Apache. She's a person I hired, and unless you've got proof of something illegal, you've got no business being here. Collins backed toward his horse, stumbling in his haste. This isn't over. Yeah, it is. Don't come back. Collins rode off, cursing the whole way. When he was gone, Reed turned to Wren. That was a risk. He already knew. Hiding changes nothing. She shrugged. Now he is scared. Scared men make mistakes. Scared men also get desperate. Then we be ready for desperate. That night they had a family meeting. Everyone gathered around the table, Reed, Asha, Wren, Tula, and Tojo. Collins will tell the fort, Reed said. We need to be prepared. We should leave, Tula said quietly. Before they come. No, Tojo said suddenly. Everyone looked at him. No more running. I am tired of running. Tojo, Asha started. No, mother. All my life we run. Run from soldiers, run from settlers, run from everyone. I do not want to run anymore. I want to stay. I want home. Asha's eyes filled with tears. My son. This is home, Tojo said fiercely. Reed is home. You are home. This place is home. And I will fight for it. Reed's throat went tight. Wren looked away, her jaw clenched. Tula wiped her eyes. Tojo is right, Wren said finally. We stop running. We make stand. Against the army? Asha asked. The 5 of us. If necessary. That is suicide. Then we die on our feet instead of our knees, Wren said. I am tired of kneeling. They all looked at Reed. He thought about it. Really thought about it. The smart thing would be to send them away, save himself. But looking at Tojo's determined face, at Asha's fearful eyes, at Wren's fierce pride, Reed knew he couldn't. We stay, he said. All of us. And if trouble comes, we face it together. Asha reached across the table and took his hand. You are sure? I'm sure. Then we stay, she said. We make this place our home, our sanctuary, and we protect it with everything we have. They clasped hands, all 5 of them, around that small table. A family not bound by blood but by choice, by survival, by love that had grown quietly in the spaces between fear. Outside, snow began to fall again. But inside, the fire burned warm, and for the first time in any of their lives, they weren't running toward somewhere. They were already there. The blizzard hit 3 days after Collins left. Reed woke to wind screaming against the cabin walls and snow piling against the door so thick he had to shoulder it open. The world outside had disappeared into white chaos. How bad? Asha asked, already up and wrapping blankets around Tojo. Bad. Could last days. Wren was at the window, peering through the frost. Good. Storm keeps soldiers away. Storm keeps everyone away, Tula corrected. Including us if we need to leave. We have enough supplies. Reed did the math in his head. 2 weeks if we're careful, 3 if we stretch it. Then we stretch it, Asha said. Show me what we have. They spent the morning rationing, dividing food into portions, melting snow for water, banking the fire to conserve wood. It was intimate work, the 5 of them, moving around each other in the small space, learning each other's rhythms. Wren organized. Tula cooked. Asha planned. Tojo helped where he could. and Reed watched them transform his bachelor cabin into something that felt like a real home. By afternoon, the wind was so loud they had to shout to be heard. Snow drifted halfway up the windows. The temperature inside dropped despite the fire. "Everyone stay close to the stove," Reed ordered. "We need to conserve body heat." They huddled together, Reed in his chair, Asha and Tojo on the bed, Ren and Tula on the floor, wrapped in blankets. The storm raged outside like something alive and angry. "Tell us about your wife," Tula said suddenly. Reed looked up surprised. "What?" "You're Mary. Tell us about her. We are trapped together. Might as well know each other's stories." Reed hesitated. He hadn't talked about Mary in years. But looking at their expectant faces, something in him softened. "She was stubborn," he said finally. Lord, was she stubborn. Once she decided something, there was no changing her mind. I met her at a barn dance in Missouri. She was wearing a blue dress and arguing with her father about something I never found out what. But she was so fierce, so alive, I couldn't look away. "What did you do?" Tojo asked. "I asked her to dance. She said no. I asked again. She said no again. Third time she said yes just to shut me up." Reed smiled at the memory. "We were married 6 months later. Her father said I was too old for her. I was 28, she was 19. Said I'd lived too rough a life, seen too much war. But Mary didn't care. She said I needed someone to civilize me." "Did she civilize you?" Asha asked softly. "She tried. God knows she tried. We moved out here after the war, built this cabin ourselves. She wanted to make something new away from all the fighting and hate. Said Arizona was far enough from the past that we could start fresh." "And your daughter?" Tula prompted gently. Reed's chest tightened. "Sarah. She had Mary's eyes and my stubborn streak. She was 7 when she died. 7 years old, and she could already read better than me, ride a horse, shoot a rifle. Mary taught her everything. Said women needed to be strong out here, independent. Sarah was going to be extraordinary." The cabin fell quiet except for the wind. Reed realized his eyes were wet. "I wasn't here when they got sick," he continued. "I was 3 days away getting supplies. By the time I got back, they were already buried. Neighbor said Mary held on as long as she could, kept asking for me. Sarah went first and Mary died 2 days later. They said her heart just gave up." Asha reached over and took his hand. "I am sorry." "Me too." Reed wiped his eyes. "I've spent 6 years blaming myself, thinking if I'd been here maybe I could have saved them. Maybe I could have done something." "You could not," Tula said firmly. "Fever takes who it takes. You being there would only mean you died too, then 3 graves instead of 2. "Maybe. But at least I wouldn't have spent 6 years alone." "You are not alone now," Tojo said. He climbed off the bed and came to stand beside Reed's chair. "You have us." Reed pulled the boy close, surprised by the fierceness of his own emotion. "Yeah, kid. I have you." "My turn," Ren announced. "You tell us about your dead. We tell you about ours. Fair trade." "Ren." Asha started. "No. He shares his pain. We share ours. Otherwise, how do we trust?" Asha nodded slowly. "You are right. Reed should know who we are, what we have lost." Ren shifted against the wall, her face hard, but her eyes distant. "I had husband once, long time ago. We were young. I was 16, he was 18. His name was Dakota. Strong name for strong man. He made me laugh. Not many people make me laugh." She paused. "We were married 2 years when settlers came. They wanted our land. Said we were squatting on territory that belonged to them. My husband tried to talk to them, tried to make peace. They shot him in front of me. Then they burned our home. I was pregnant. Lost the baby from the shock." "Jesus," Reed breathed. "After that I wanted to die too, but my sister..." She gestured to Asha. "She would not let me. She dragged me back to life. Made me eat, made me sleep, made me keep living even when I did not want to. So I live. But I am angry. Always angry. Anger is what keeps me alive now. Tula spoke next, her voice soft but steady. I had husband too. Sweet man named Kuruk. We were married 5 years, had 2 children, boy and girl. Beautiful children. When settlers came to our village, they killed my husband first. He tried to protect us. Then they took my son, he was only 4. I never saw him again. My daughter died in my arms from bullet wound. She was 6 years old. Tula, Reed said, horrified. I'm so sorry. After that, I wanted nothing except revenge. I became someone I did not recognize, hard, cold, violent. I killed 3 men before Asha found me. She brought me back from that darkness, reminded me that I was more than my pain. Now I choose gentleness over violence, kindness over revenge, because I will not let those men take my soul along with my family. They all looked at Asha then. She sat very still, Tojo tucked against her side. My story. You know some of, she said quietly. But not all. My husband Tojo's father, he was good man. Best man I knew. He was shaman healer. He believed in peace and finding ways to coexist with the white settlers. Many people thought he was weak for this. But he was not weak. He was wise. He said violence only creates more violence, that we must be better. What happened to him? Reed asked. Sickness. Same sickness that took your wife and daughter. Fever that burned through our camp 3 winters ago. It took my husband, took many children, took our elders. We had no medicine, no help. We watched them die one by one. After my husband died, I wanted to give up. But Tojo needed me. So I became chief of what was left of our people, 30 people, mostly women and children. I led them north looking for safety. We joined with my mother's people for a while, but then soldiers came again. And again. Always hunting us. Always pushing us further. The attack that scattered you was the final one. We had done nothing wrong. We were camped peacefully, causing no trouble. But soldiers came in the night. They said we were hostiles, that we had stolen cattle. It was lie. We had stolen nothing. But they did not care about truth. They only cared about clearing the land for settlers. Her voice hardened. We scattered. I hid Tojo and told him to run. I thought I would find him after. But the soldiers chased us for days. When I finally got back to where I had hidden him, he was gone. I thought he was dead. I thought I had lost my son the same way I lost my husband. Tojo burrowed deeper into her side. But you found me. Reed found me, and you found me. Yes, because Reed is good man. Rare thing in this world. She looked at Reed. You asked me once why I have trouble trusting. Now you know. Everyone I have trusted except my sisters and my son is dead. Kindness is rare. Survival is everything. So when you show us kindness, I do not know what to do with it. It feels dangerous, like a trap. It's not a trap, Reed said. I know. My head knows. But my heart is slower to believe. The storm howled outside. Inside, the 5 of them sat with their shared grief, their collective trauma. Reed realized they were all broken in different ways, all trying to hold themselves together with whatever they had left. We are strange family, Tula said finally, made from pain and loss, but family nonetheless. Maybe the best families are the ones we choose, Reed offered. Maybe. Asha squeezed his hand. Or maybe we are all just too stubborn to give up. That night the temperature dropped so low they could see their breath inside the cabin. Reed built up the fire as high as he dared, but it barely held back the cold. Everyone needs to sleep together, he announced. Share body heat. It's the only way we'll make it through. Nobody argued. They piled onto the bed, all 5 of them cramped together like children blankets, layered thick bodies pressed close for warmth. Reed ended up between Asha and Tojo, acutely aware of every point where Asha's body touched his. This is ridiculous, Ren muttered from the edge. We are like rabbits in a den. Warm rabbits, Tula corrected. Alive rabbits. Tojo giggled. It was the first time Reed had heard him really laugh. The sound made everyone smile. Tell a story, Tojo demanded. Reed, tell us about the war. That's not a good bedtime story, kid. I want to know. You were soldier. Reed sighed. Yeah, I was a soldier. Union Army. Fought at Shiloh-Vicksburg, a dozen other places I'd rather forget. You kill people, Tojo, Asha warned. It's okay, Reed said. Yeah, kid. I killed people. That's what soldiers do. It's not something I'm proud of. My father say killing is always wrong, even in war. Your father was smarter than me. I didn't figure that out until it was too late, until I'd already done things I can't take back. What things? Reed was quiet for a long moment. There was a battle near the end of the war. We'd been fighting for 3 days straight. Everyone was exhausted, scared half crazy from lack of sleep. We came to a town, just a small place, maybe 30 houses. Our commander said Confederate soldiers were hiding there. Told us to search every building, arrest anyone suspicious. He paused, the memory still sharp after all these years. We went door to door. Most houses were empty, people had fled. But at one house there was a family. Mother, father, 3 kids. The father had a rifle. He raised it when we came in, said he was protecting his family. My captain shot him, just like that. Then the mother started screaming, and one of my fellow soldiers shot her too. The kids were crying, terrified. I grabbed them, got them out of there. Took them to a church, left them with a priest. But I've thought about those kids every day since. Wondered what happened to them. Wondered if they survived. Wondered if they hate me for what we did to their parents. The cabin was silent except for the wind. You saved the children, Tojo said finally. That is good thing. But I didn't save their parents. I stood there and watched them die. You were soldier. You follow orders. That's not an excuse. No, Asha said softly. But it is reality. War makes monsters of everyone. The question is what you do after. Do you stay monster, or do you try to be better? I've been trying to be better for 6 years. Not sure I've succeeded. You saved my son. You took us in. You risk everything for people you do not owe anything to. That is better, Reed. That is much better. Reed felt her hand find his under the blankets, her fingers threading through his. He held on like she was the only thing keeping him anchored. The storm lasted 3 days. 3 days trapped in close quarters, learning each other's habits and quirks and boundaries. Ren snored. Tula talked in her sleep. Tojo had nightmares that left him thrashing and crying until Asha sang to him in Apache. Asha herself barely slept, always alert, always listening for danger. And Reed discovered he slept better surrounded by people than he had in 6 years of sleeping alone. On the second day, Tojo found Reed's old army buckle in a trunk. It was tarnished and bent, but still recognizable Union insignia stamped into the brass. You keep this? Tojo asked. Yeah, don't know why. Guess I couldn't let go of it. Tojo turned it over in his hands. My father give me stone before he die. Special stone from the mountains. I lose it when I was running from soldiers. I wish I still had it. Reed took the buckle from him and held it for a moment, feeling the weight of it. All the memories it carried, the friends he'd lost, the mistakes he'd made, the man he'd been before Mary and Sarah. Here, Reed said, offering it back. It's yours now. What? It was mine. Now it's yours. Something to remember where you've been. Something to carry forward. Tojo stared at the buckle like Reed had just handed him a treasure. You are sure? I'm sure. Besides, I don't need it anymore. I've got new memories to make. Tojo clutched the buckle to his chest. Thank you. I will keep it forever. Asha watched this exchange with shining eyes. Later, when Tojo had fallen asleep with the buckle still in his hand, she pulled Reed aside. That was kind gift. You did not have to do that. I wanted to. Kid lost everything. Figured he could use something permanent. It means more than you know, to have piece of you to carry with him. He's a good kid. You raised him right. We raised him right. His father and I together. She paused. But now maybe you help raise him too. If you want. Reed's throat went tight. I'd like that. I'd like that a lot. They stood there close together in the small space, the rest of the cabin asleep around them. Asha's hand came up, touching Reed's face gently. You have good heart, Reed Holston. Wounded, but good. So do you. We are both broken people trying to be whole. Maybe we can help each other with that. Maybe. She smiled. My husband used to say that two broken pieces can fit together better than two whole ones, because the broken edges match. They understand each other. He really was a wise man. He was. You would have liked him. He would have liked you too. You think, I know. He always said the best people are the ones who have suffered and stayed kind. You have suffered, Reed, and you have stayed kind. That is rare. That is precious. Reed wanted to kiss her then. Wanted it so badly his chest ached with it. But he didn't. Not yet. There were still too many complications, too many risks, too many reasons to be careful. But the wanting was there. And from the way Asha looked at him, she felt it too. On the third day, the storm broke. They woke to silence, no wind, no howling, just the soft sound of snow settling. Reed dug out the door and stepped into a transformed world. Everything was white and clean and startlingly beautiful. We made it, Ren said, joining him on the porch. Yeah, we did. Good. Now we dig out and prepare for next storm. Always preparing for the next storm. That is how you survive. You never rest, never assume you are safe. Reed understood that mentality. He'd lived that way himself for years after the war, always waiting for the next attack, the next loss, the next disaster. You ever get tired of it? He asked. Always being on guard. Ren was quiet for a moment. Yes, I am very tired. But tired does not matter. Survival matters. What if you could have both survival and rest? That is fantasy. There is no such thing. Maybe there could be. Here, with us. Ren looked at him sharply. You believe that? You truly believe we can be safe here? I believe we can try. I believe it's worth trying. And when soldiers come, when they take us away or kill us all, then we fought for something worth fighting for. We made a stand. We had a home, even if just for a little while. That's more than most people get. Ren studied him for a long time. Finally, she nodded. Maybe you are not so foolish as I thought. High praise coming from you. Do not let it go to your head. But she smiled when she said it, rare and genuine, and Reed felt like he'd passed some kind of test. They spent the day digging out clearing paths, checking on Greta in the barn. The horse had weathered the storm fine, though she was eager for attention. Tojo helped Reed brush her down, chattering about horses his father had owned, asking 1,000 questions about how to care for animals. You are good teacher, Tojo said. Patient, not like my uncle. He always yelled. Where's your uncle now? Tojo's face fell. Dead. Soldiers killed him in the attack. He was trying to protect the children. He fought very brave. I'm sorry, kid. Everyone is sorry, but sorry does not bring anyone back. Tojo looked up at Reed with those old eyes. You are like my uncle, strong and kind. I am glad I have you now. Reed had to look away before Tojo saw him getting emotional again. This kid had a way of cutting right through every defense Reed had built. That evening, Tula made something special for dinner, a stew with herbs she'd found God knew where, flavored with spices from her bag that made the whole cabin smell amazing. They ate together at the table, laughing and talking, and for the first time since Mary died, Reed felt like he was part of something bigger than his own grief. After dinner, Asha asked Reed to walk with her. They bundled up and went outside into the crystal-cold night. The stars were so bright they looked close enough to touch. "I need to tell you something," Asha said. Reed's stomach dropped. "Okay. The month you gave us is almost over. Soon we should go to my mother's people. That was the agreement." "I remember. But I do not want to go." Reed's heart stuttered. "What? I do not want to go," she repeated. "Tojo does not want to go. My sisters, I think they do not want to go either. We are happy here. Safe. It feels like home. I have not felt home in very long time." "Then stay. Just stay. Forget the month. Forget the agreement. This can be your home for as long as you want. But the danger is worth it. You're worth it. Tojo's worth it. All of this is worth it." Asha turned to face him fully. "Why, Reed? Why do you want us to stay? What do we give you that makes this worth risking your life?" Reed thought about how to answer that. How to put into words the way his cabin had gone from tomb to home in just 3 weeks. How to explain that he'd been a ghost for 6 years, and they'd made him feel alive again. "You give me purpose," he said finally. "You give me a reason to wake up in the morning beyond just surviving another day. You give me family, and I haven't had that in so long I'd forgotten what it felt like." "And what about me?" Asha asked softly. "What do I give you specifically?" "Hope. You give me hope that maybe I can be happy again. Maybe I can care about someone again without being terrified of losing them. Maybe I can have a future instead of just a past." "You care about me." "Yeah, I do. More than I probably should." Asha stepped closer. "I care about you too. More than is wise. More than is safe. But I cannot help it. You are good man, Reed. You make me feel safe. You make me feel seen. And when you look at me, I do not feel like burden or responsibility. I feel like woman, like Asha, not just Tojo's mother or the chief who failed her people. Just me. You didn't fail anyone. I lost my people. I could not protect them. You saved your son. You saved your sisters. You survived when most people wouldn't have. That's not failure, Asha. That's strength." Her eyes filled with tears. "I do not feel strong. You're the strongest person I know." Then he did what he'd been wanting to do for days. He reached for her, pulling her close. She came willingly, tucking her head under his chin, her arms wrapping around his waist. They stood there in the cold, holding each other, two broken people, trying to be whole. "Stay," Reed whispered into her hair. "Please stay." "Okay," Asha whispered back. "We will stay." When they pulled apart, Asha was smiling through her tears. Reed wiped them away gently with his thumb. "This is foolish," she said. "White man and Apache woman. World will not accept this." "Then the world can go to hell. I stopped caring what the world thinks a long time ago." "You are very stubborn. You're one to talk." She laughed, bright and genuine, and Reed thought it was the most beautiful sound he'd ever heard. They went back inside, hand in hand. Ren took one look at them and rolled her eyes. "Finally. I was wondering how long you two would dance around this." "You knew?" Asha asked. "Everyone knows. You look at each other like starving people look at food. It is obvious." Tula laughed. "Ren is right. We have been waiting for you to figure it out." Even Tojo piped up. "I told Mother she should marry you. She said it was too soon, but I think it is good time." Reed and Asha looked at each other, both flushed and embarrassed, but smiling. "Well," Reed said, "I guess we're not as subtle as we thought." "Never were," Ren said. "But is good. Family is stronger this way. United." And looking around at all of them, Ren with her fierce protectiveness, Tula with her gentle wisdom, Tojo with his bright hope, and Asha with her quiet strength. Reed realized something profound. He'd spent 6 years mourning the family he'd lost. And in the process, he'd been given a new one. Different, complicated, probably doomed in the eyes of anyone who might find out about it. But his, nonetheless. And he'd fight for it with everything he had. The soldiers came back exactly 1 week later, just like Lieutenant Graves had promised. Reed was in the barn with Tojo teaching the boy how to properly saddle Greta when he heard the hoofbeats. His whole body went rigid. "Inside," he said quietly. "Now, don't run. Walk normal." Tojo's eyes went wide, but he obeyed. Reed watched him slip into the cabin, then turned to face the approaching riders. 5 of them this time, Graves and 4 others all armed. Reed stepped out of the barn, wiping his hands on his pants like he had nothing to hide. His heart hammered against his ribs, but his face stayed calm. "Lieutenant," he said. "Back again." Graves dismounted, his eyes scanning everything. "Told you I would be. Your memory improve any?" "Still haven't seen anyone, if that's what you're asking." "That's so." Graves walked toward the cabin. "Mind if I take a look inside?" "Actually, I do mind. Like I said last time, this is private property." "And like I said last time, we have authority." Graves gestured to his men. "Search it." "You don't have a warrant." "Don't need one for suspected fugitives." Graves smiled cold and mean. "You can cooperate or we can arrest you for obstruction. Your choice, Holston." Reed's mind raced. If they went inside, they'd find evidence, Apache clothing, extra food signs that more than one person lived there. He could fight, but 5 armed soldiers against him meant suicide. He could refuse, but they'd just arrest him and search anyway. Then the cabin door opened. Asha stepped out. Reed's blood turned to ice. What was she doing? "Can I help you, gentlemen?" she asked in perfect unaccented English. She'd changed clothes, wearing one of Mary's old dresses that Tula had altered. Her hair was down, covering her ears. She looked like any settler woman. Graves stared at her. "Who are you?" "Rebecca Holston, Reed's wife." She said it so smoothly, so confidently, that for a second, even Reed almost believed it. "Wife?" Graves looked between them. He didn't mention a wife. "I didn't mention her because it's none of your business," Reed said, recovering fast. "What I do on my own land with my own family is my concern, not the Army's." "She doesn't look like a wife who's been here long. The place was empty last time." "I was visiting family in Tucson," Asha said. "Just got back 3 days ago. Is there a law against a woman visiting her relatives?" One of the soldiers nudged Graves. "Lieutenant, she's white, not who we're looking for." But Graves wasn't convinced. He stepped closer to Asha, studying her face. Reed's hand drifted toward the knife on his belt. "You look familiar," Graves said. "Where are you from originally?" "Missouri. My family moved west 5 years ago." "What's your maiden name?" Asha didn't hesitate. "Thompson. Rebecca Thompson, before I married Reed." "And your family in Tucson?" "The Andersons. My sister married a merchant there." "You're welcome to check if you don't believe me, though I'm not sure why you're interrogating a respectable married woman on her own property." The bite in her voice was perfect, indignant, offended, but not scared. Graves backed off slightly. "Just doing my job, ma'am." "Your job is harassing citizens. How noble." One of the soldiers actually smirked at that. Graves's face went red. "We're tracking dangerous fugitives, Apache hostiles who killed soldiers. If you've seen anything suspicious..." "The only suspicious thing I've seen is 5 armed men threatening my husband," Asha said coolly. "Now, if you're done with your questions, we have work to do." Graves looked like he wanted to argue, but his men were already shifting, clearly uncomfortable. Hassling a white woman, even one they suspected, was different than hassling a man alone. "Fine," Graves said. "But we'll be watching this place. And if I find out you're lying..." "You'll what?" Reed stepped forward. Arrest a woman for visiting her sister. Good luck explaining that to your commanding officer." Graves mounted his horse, his jaw clenched. "This isn't over, Holston. Seems pretty over to me." They rode off, but slower this time, looking back. Reed and Asha stood on the porch until they disappeared over the ridge. Then Asha's knees buckled. Reed caught her. "I've got you. You're okay. You did so good." I thought they would know. I thought they didn't know. You were perfect. Absolutely perfect." Asha was shaking hard. Reed helped her inside where Ren and Tula were holding Tojo, everyone pale and terrified. "That was incredibly stupid," Ren said. "If they had recognized you—" "But they did not," Asha said, steadying herself. "Because they see what they expect to see. White dress, white woman's manners, speaking perfect English. They could not imagine an Apache woman could be those things." "It was still a huge risk," Reed said. "And what was alternative? Let them search, find us hiding. That would be worse." Asha straightened. "We cannot hide forever, Reed. Eventually, we must learn to hide in plain sight." She was right, but Reed hated it. Hated that she had to pretend to be someone else just to survive. Hated that speaking perfect English and wearing a dead woman's dress was what kept her alive. "We need better plan," Tula said quietly. "They will come back. They are suspicious now. Next time they will bring more soldiers, maybe bring Tracker." "Then we need to make this look more real," Asha said. "If I am Reed's wife, we need proof. Marriage certificate ring story that makes sense." "I can forge a certificate," Ren offered. "I have done it before. But rings—" "I have rings," Reed said. He went to the trunk in the corner and pulled out a small wooden box. Inside were Mary's wedding band and his own. He hadn't been able to wear his after she died. It felt wrong, like a lie. Now he held both rings, feeling their weight, their history. "Mary would want this," he said quietly. "She'd want them used to protect people. She'd approve." He handed Mary's ring to Asha. She took it reverently, turning it over in her fingers. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure." Reed slipped his own ring back on. It felt strange and familiar all at once. Besides, might as well make it official. "Official?" Tojo perked up. "You mean married for real?" Reed and Asha looked at each other. They hadn't talked about this, about making their relationship real, rather than just a cover story. But standing there holding Mary's ring, Reed realized he wanted it. Wanted Asha as his wife, not just his pretend wife. "Would you want that?" Reed asked. "I mean, really want it, not just for show." Asha's eyes filled with tears. "Yes, I would want that. Very much." "Then let's do it. Right now. Today." "You cannot just decide to be married," Ren protested. "There must be ceremony, witnesses, proper words." "We are the witnesses," Tula said softly. "And the proper words are the ones they speak to each other. That is all marriage is, promises made before people who matter." Ren opened her mouth to argue, then closed it. "Fine, but I still think you are all crazy." "Probably," Reed agreed. "But crazy's kept us alive so far." They gathered in a circle by the fire, all 5 of them holding hands. Reed had no idea what he was supposed to say. He'd been to exactly one wedding in his life, his own, and he barely remembered the words the preacher had used. "I'll go first," Asha said. She squeezed Reed's hands, her eyes locked on his. "Reed Holston, I promise to stand beside you. To protect this family we have made. To honor the memory of who you lost while building something new with who you are now. I promise to be honest, to be strong, and to never give up on us, even when the world says we should not exist." Reed's throat was so tight he could barely speak. "Asha, I don't even know your full name." "Asha Delgado. My father was Mexican, my mother Apache. I am mixed like this family, like this life we are building." "Asha Delgado," Reed repeated. "I promise to keep you safe, To give Tojo a home and a father if he'll have me. To respect your strength and your independence while offering my own. I promise to be worthy of the second chance you've given me. And I promise that as long as I'm breathing, you will never be alone again." Tula was crying openly now. Even Ren looked moved. Tojo squeezed between them. "I promise too," he announced. "I promise to be good son to both of you, to learn everything you teach me, to make you proud." "You already make us proud," Asha said, pulling him close. Reed slipped Mary's ring onto Asha's finger. It fit almost perfectly, just a little loose but close enough. Asha took Reed's hand and placed it over her heart. "In my culture," she said, "when two people marry, they become one spirit in two bodies. Your pain is my pain. Your joy is my joy. Your life is my life. Do you accept this?" "I accept it. Do you?" "I accept it." They kissed, then gentle, careful, both of them, aware of their audience. But there was promise in it. Hope. The beginning of something that felt sacred despite the circumstances that had forced it. "Well," Ren said dryly, "now you are legally crazy together. Congratulations." Everyone laughed, the tension breaking. Tula hugged them both. Tojo demanded to know if this meant he could call Reed father now. "If you want to," Reed said, his voice rough with emotion. "I want to. Father Reed." "Just Reed is fine, kid. Father is better." Reed looked at Asha helplessly. She smiled. "He is stubborn like you. You will have to get used to it." That night felt different. Reed and Asha shared the bed properly now, no pretense about staying warm or being practical. Ren, Tula, and Tojo made beds on the floor near the fire, grumbling good-naturedly about giving the newlyweds privacy. Reed lay awake long after everyone else had fallen asleep. Asha curled against his side, her breathing deep and even. He thought about Mary, wondered if she would approve of this, wondered if loving Asha meant betraying Mary's memory. But then he remembered what Asha had said about honoring the past while building the future. Mary would have wanted him to be happy. She wouldn't have wanted him to spend his life alone punishing himself for not being there when she needed him. "I hope you understand," Reed whispered to the darkness to Mary's ghost that had haunted this cabin for so long. "I hope you know I loved you. I still love you. But I love her too. And I think that's okay. I think you'd tell me it's okay." Asha stirred beside him. "You are talking to your first wife." "Sorry, didn't mean to wake you." "I am not offended. She deserves to be spoken to." Asha propped herself up on one elbow. "My husband visited me in dreams after he died. He told me to live, to find happiness, to not waste the time I had left mourning him. I think your Mary would say the same." "You think?" "I know. Because that is what love does. It wants the beloved to thrive even when it cannot be there to see it." Reed pulled her closer. "How'd you get so wise?" "Suffering makes everyone wise if they survive it. I survived, so did you. Now we use that wisdom to build something better." They lay there together in the quiet dark, and Reed felt something shift inside him, the last piece of guilt finally releasing. He would always love Mary and Sarah. They would always be part of him. But he could love Asha too. He could have this new family without erasing the old one. He could have both. The next few weeks settled into a new rhythm. Reed and Asha were married now, not just in pretense, but in truth, and it changed things in subtle ways. The touches became more frequent, more casual. The looks lingered, and at night, wrapped in each other's arms, they talked about everything. Their pasts, their fears, their hopes for a future that seemed impossible, but maybe, just maybe, could be real. Tojo blossomed with two parents. Reed taught him to ride, to shoot, to read English better. Asha taught him Apache history, her language, the skills he'd need to survive in a world that didn't want him to exist. Together, they gave him something neither could provide, alone, a bridge between two worlds. Ren relaxed, though she'd never admit it. She still scouted every morning, still kept weapons close, still watched the ridge for riders. But she laughed more, joked more, let herself believe just a little that maybe they could have this. Tula transformed the cabin into a real home. She found wild herbs and started a garden in the cold frame Reed built. She sewed new clothes from fabric Reed bought in town on his monthly supply runs. She sang while she worked old Apache songs that filled the cabin with a language Reed didn't understand but felt in his bones. They were happy. Against all odds, against all logic, they were happy. But happiness never lasts long when you're living on borrowed time. Reed went into town for supplies 6 weeks after the wedding. He went alone, too risky to bring anyone else, and finished his shopping quickly. He was loading flour into his wagon when he heard a familiar voice. "Well, well, if it isn't the Indian lover himself." Reed turned. Collins stood there with 3 other men ranchers from the surrounding area, all with the same mean look in their eyes. "Collins, gentlemen." Reed kept his voice neutral. "Heard you got yourself a wife," Collins said. "Funny nobody remembers seeing her before. Nobody knows her family. Almost like she appeared out of nowhere." "My wife's business is my business." "See, that's where you're wrong. When a man harbors fugitives, it becomes everyone's business." The other men stepped closer, forming a semicircle. Reed's hand drifted toward his knife. "I'm not harboring anyone, and unless you've got proof otherwise, you need to step back." "Proof?" Collins laughed. "We don't need proof. We know what you are. We know what you're doing, and we're here to tell you it stops now." "Or what? Or we come to your place and take care of it ourselves. The army might need warrants and proof, but we don't. We're just citizens protecting our land from savages." Reed's vision went red. "You touch my family, I'll kill you myself." "Your family?" Collins sneered. "That's rich. You mean your Apache whore and her?" Reed's fist connected with Collins's jaw before he could finish. Collins went down hard. The other men rushed forward, but Reed was already moving a punch here, an elbow there, fighting dirty like Wren had taught him. But 3 against 1 wasn't sustainable. They got him down kicking and punching until Reed's ribs screamed and blood filled his mouth. He curled up, protecting his head, waiting for it to end. "Enough." The sheriff's voice cut through the violence. The men stepped back. Reed uncurled slowly, pain radiating through his whole body. Sheriff Morrison stood there, his hand on his gun. "What the hell is going on? This man attacked me," Collins protested, holding his bleeding jaw. "After you threatened his family," Morrison said dryly. "I heard the whole thing, Collins. You and your boys get out of here before I arrest you for assault." "But he—" "Now." Collins and his men left, shooting murderous looks at Reed. Morrison helped Reed to his feet. "You look like hell, Holston." "Feel like it too. Get your supplies and get home. And Reed, whatever you're doing out there, be careful. Collins isn't the only one who's suspicious. Word's spreading. People are talking. Let them talk. Talking turns into action. You know that. You need to think about what you're risking." "I know what I'm risking." "Worth it." Morrison sighed. "You're a stubborn fool. Always have been. Thanks for the help anyway. Just don't make me regret it." Reed finished loading his wagon and started the long ride home. Every movement hurt. His ribs were definitely bruised, maybe cracked. His face would be a mess of bruises by morning. But all he could think about was getting back, making sure everyone was okay, telling them what had happened, warning them it was about to get worse. The cabin came into view just as the sun set. Reed urged Greta faster, ignoring the pain. Asha ran out when she heard the wagon, then stopped dead when she saw his face. "Reed. What happened?" "Collins. And 3 others. It's okay. I'm okay." But he wasn't okay. As soon as he climbed down from the wagon, his legs gave out. Asha caught him calling for Wren and Tula. They got him inside, laid him on the bed, started checking his injuries. "Broken rib," Tula diagnosed. "Maybe 2. Bad bruising. Cut above eye, needs stitches." "I can do stitches," Wren said. She was already threading a needle. Tojo stood in the corner, his face pale. "Father, you will be okay." "I'll be fine, kid. Takes more than a few punches to kill me." But as Ren stitched his eyebrow and Tula wrapped his ribs, Reed told them what Collins had said. About coming to the cabin. About taking care of things themselves. The room fell silent. "We should leave," Tula said finally. "Tonight, before they come." "No." Asha's voice was hard. "We run, they win. We run, we prove we are guilty of something. We stay. We stand our ground. Asha, they will kill us. They will try. But we are not helpless. We are not weak. We have survived worse than angry ranchers." "She is right," Ren said. "We stay. We prepare. And if they come, we show them what happens when you threaten family." Reed looked at all of them, his wife, his sisters, his son. All of them had lost so much. All of them had every reason to run, to hide, to keep moving. But they weren't running. They were standing with him, for each other. "Then we fortify," Reed said. "Board the windows, set up defenses, make this place defensible. If Collins wants a fight, we'll give him one he won't forget." They worked through the night. Reed, despite his injuries, helped where he could. Ren built barricades. Tula gathered weapons, knives. Reed's rifle even improvised clubs. Asha created escape routes and hiding spots, making sure Tojo knew every exit, every safe place to run. By dawn, the cabin was a fortress. Small, modest, probably not enough if a dozen men came. But it was something. It was a statement. This is our home, and we will fight for it. They waited 3 days. 3 days of tension, of watching the ridge, of jumping at every sound. Tojo's nightmares came back. Tula stopped singing. Ren barely slept, always on guard. Asha grew quieter, harder, preparing herself mentally for violence. Reed hated it. Hated that they were living in fear in the one place that should feel safe. On the 4th day, riders appeared on the horizon. Not 5, not 10, 20. Collins had brought an army. Reed counted them twice to make sure. 20 riders, maybe more, behind the ridge. His stomach turned to lead. "Get Tojo in the hiding spot," he said quietly. "Now." Asha didn't argue. She grabbed Tojo, who started to protest, but one look at his mother's face silenced him. Ren lifted the floorboard. They'd prepared a crawl space barely big enough for a child, but deep enough to hide him if things went bad. "I want to fight with you," Tojo said, his voice breaking. "You fight by surviving." Asha told him, kissing his forehead. "You survive and you remember us. That is your job. Promise me. Mother, promise me." "I promise." Tears streamed down his face as Ren lowered him into the space and replaced the board. They covered it with a rug and a chair. Reed grabbed his rifle. His ribs screamed in protest, but he ignored them. Ren took position at the window, her knife in one hand, a hatchet in the other. Tula stood by the stove with a cast iron pan, not much of a weapon, but better than nothing. Asha came to stand beside Reed at the door, Mary's old shotgun in her hands. "I love you," Reed said. "I love you too. Now let's not die." The riders stopped 50 yards out. Collins sat at the front, a rifle across his saddle. Behind him, Reed recognized faces, ranchers, farmhands, a few drifters who'd do anything for whiskey money. Not soldiers, thank God. Just civilians with hate in their hearts and blood in their eyes. "Holston," Collins shouted. "Send out the savages and we'll let you live." Reed stepped onto the porch, rifle visible, but pointed down. "There are no savages here. Just my family." "And you're trespassing." "Your family?" Collins laughed. "That Apache whore isn't your family, and whatever else you're hiding in there, we know what you are. We know what you've done." "I gave shelter to people who needed it. That's not a crime. It is when those people are wanted fugitives, when they're murderers. They never murdered anyone, and you know it. The army lied. They always lie. Doesn't matter, another man shouted. They're Apache. That's reason enough. Reed's finger moved closer to the trigger. Last chance. Turn around and leave. Nobody has to get hurt. You're outnumbered 20-1, Holston. You really want to die for them? Yeah, I really do. Collins raised his rifle. Then you're a fool. Everything happened at once. Collins fired. Reed dove back through the door as the bullet splintered wood where his head had been. Asha fired the shotgun, hitting a horse. The animal screamed and reared, throwing its rider. Then, everyone was shooting. Glass shattered. Bullets punched through walls. Reed fired through a window, saw a man go down. Wren threw her hatchet, hitting another in the shoulder. The cabin filled with smoke and noise and the smell of gunpowder. They're spreading out, Wren shouted. They're going to surround us. She was right. Reed saw men moving to the sides, trying to get behind the cabin. If they did that, they were finished. Tula watched the back window. Wren the side. Asha, stay with me. They moved into position. Reed fired again, then again. He hit one man in the leg, sent another scrambling for cover. But there were too many. For every one he hit, 3 more took their place. A torch flew through the broken window, landing near the stove. Tula grabbed it and threw it back out, but another one came through a second later. Then a third. They're trying to burn us out, Asha yelled. Reed stomped out the nearest torch, but smoke was already filling the cabin. His eyes watered. His lungs burned. They had minutes, maybe less. We have to run, Tula said. We cannot win this. Reed knew she was right. But running meant leaving the cabin, meant being exposed. They'd be cut down before they made it 10 feet. Then he heard something that made his blood freeze. Hoofbeats. More riders coming. No, Reed whispered. No, no, no. But when he looked out, his heart nearly stopped. It wasn't more of Collins's men. It was Sheriff Morrison. And behind him, a dozen deputized men, all with rifles. Collins. Morrison's voice boomed across the yard. Stand down. Now. Collins wheeled his horse. This isn't your business, Sheriff. The hell it isn't. You're on private property shooting at citizens. That's vigilante justice and it's illegal. Those aren't citizens. They're under my protection. Morrison rode forward, his rifle aimed at Collins. I got word you were planning this. Took me all night to ride out here. But I'm here now, and I'm ordering you to stand down or face arrest. You're protecting Indians. I'm protecting the law. Now drop your weapons or I'll drop you. For a long, terrible moment, nobody moved. Reed could feel the tension. One wrong word, one twitch, and this whole thing would explode into a massacre. Then Collins lowered his rifle. This isn't over, he spat. Yeah, it is, Morrison said. You and your boys are done here. Go home, and if I hear about any more of this vigilante bullshit, I'll arrest every last one of you. Collins shot one last hate-filled look at the cabin, then wheeled his horse and rode off. His men followed, some reluctant, some relieved. Morrison dismounted and walked to the porch. Reed met him at the door, rifle still in hand. You okay? Morrison asked. Been better. Been worse. Reed's hands were shaking now that the adrenaline was fading. Thank you. You saved our lives. Don't thank me yet. This isn't over. Collins is right about that. Morrison looked past Reed into the cabin where Asha, Wren, and Tula stood. I need to talk to you. All of you. They gathered around the table, scorched now from the torches, but still standing. Tojo emerged from his hiding spot, pale and shaking. Asha pulled him into her arms. Morrison took off his hat. I'm going to be straight with you folks. I can't protect you forever. What you're doing here, it's not illegal, but it's not safe either. Collins has friends, lots of them. They'll come back maybe with more men. Maybe when I'm not around to stop them. So, what do you suggest? Reed asked. We leave, just pack up and go. That'd be the smart thing. We are tired of being smart, Ren said. Smart means running. We are done running. Morrison sighed. I understand. I do. But you need to understand reality. This territory, it's not friendly to mixed families. Not friendly to people like you. He looked at Asha. Especially not to Apache people, no matter how well you speak English or how white you dress. So, we should just give up. Asha's voice was hard. Accept that we have no right to exist. I'm saying you need to be strategic. Make allies. Build support. Show people you're not a threat. We should not have to prove we are human, Tula said quietly. That should be assumed. Should be, yeah, but isn't. That's the world we live in. Reed looked at his family, battered, exhausted, but unbroken. They'd survived the attack. But Morrison was right. Collins would come back. Others would come. They couldn't fight the whole territory. What if we made this legal? Reed said suddenly. What if we filed proper papers, made everything official? Marriage certificate, property rights, everything documented. Already got the marriage certificate, Morrison said. Ren's forgery work is excellent, by the way. Almost fooled me. Ren smiled slightly. Almost? I've seen a lot of forged documents. Yours was good, but I could tell. That said, I'm not going to contest it. As far as I'm concerned, you two are legally married. He looked at Reed and Asha. But that's not enough. You need more than papers. You need people willing to testify that you're good folks. People with standing in the community. Nobody in this community will speak for us, Reed said. I will. They all stared at Morrison. You'd do that? Reed asked. Why? Morrison was quiet for a moment. Because 20 years ago, I was in love with a Navajo woman. Beautiful, smart kind. I wanted to marry her. Her people accepted me. Mine didn't. They ran us out of town, threatened to kill her if she ever came back. I let her go. I chose my career, my reputation over her, and I've regretted it every day since. He looked at Reed and Asha. You two are doing what I was too cowardly to do. You're fighting for it. I can't change my past, but I can help you keep your future. Asha's eyes filled with tears. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. This is still going to be hard, but at least you won't face it alone. Morrison stayed for 2 more hours, helping them board up the broken windows, giving them advice on how to make their story airtight. Before he left, he pulled Reed aside. One more thing. The Army's still looking for those Apache fugitives. Graves won't give up. You need to be ready for when they come back. They already came back. Asha convinced them she was white. That won't work forever. Eventually someone will recognize her. Someone who knew her before. Morrison put his hat back on. When that happens, you need to run. Don't try to fight the Army. You'll lose. Noted. I mean it, Reed. I can face down vigilantes. I can't face down federal soldiers. If they come with orders to arrest her, I won't be able to stop them. Reed nodded, the weight of it settling in his gut. After Morrison left, they cleaned up as best they could. The cabin looked like a war zone, bullet holes in the walls, broken glass everywhere, scorch marks on the floor. But it was still standing. They were still standing. That night, nobody slept. They sat together by the fire, processing what had happened. What had almost happened. We should leave, Tula said finally. Sheriff is right. This will only get worse. Where would we go? Asha asked. San Carlos, Mexico. Anywhere we go, we are targets. Anywhere we go, we are hunted. At least here we have home. At least here we have Sheriff Morrison. For now. But what about when he is gone? What about when new sheriff comes who does not care? Then we deal with that when it happens. Ren stood and walked to the door, staring out at the night. I am tired, she said quietly. So tired of fighting. So tired of being hated for existing. Sometimes I think it would be easier to just stop. Ren, Asha said, alarmed. I do not mean die. I mean stop caring, stop trying, accept that the world will always hate us, and stop fighting against it. That's not you talking. Reed said. That's exhaustion and fear talking. Maybe. But maybe it is also truth. Tojo stood up and walked to Ren. He took her hand tiny in hers and looked up at her with those serious eyes. When I was running from soldiers, he said, I wanted to stop too. I was so cold, so hungry, so tired. I thought it would be easier to just lie down in the snow and sleep. But then I remembered what Father told me before he died. He said the world will try to break you. It will tell you that you are not worthy, that you should give up. But you must never believe it. You must keep fighting, keep living, keep proving them wrong just by existing. Ren looked down at him, her eyes wet. Your father was wise man. Yes, and he would want us to keep fighting. All of us. Together. Ren pulled Tojo into a fierce hug. You are right, little one. We keep fighting. Over the next few weeks, something shifted. They stopped hiding quite so much. Asha still wore dresses when she went outside, still spoke perfect English when anyone came by. But inside the cabin, she wore her traditional clothing, spoke Apache to Tojo, sang the old songs. They were done pretending to be something they weren't. Reed rode into town once a week for supplies. People stared. Some whispered. A few spat in his direction. But Morrison was always there, watching, making sure nobody tried anything. Slowly, grudgingly, people started to accept it. Not all of them. Collins and his friends still glared and muttered threats. But others, the shopkeeper who needed help with her roof, the widow who needed her fence mended, they started to see Reed and his family as people, not threats. Asha helped deliver a baby when the town doctor was drunk. Ren tracked down a lost child who'd wandered off during a storm. Tula shared her herbs with people who were sick. Tojo made friends with the blacksmith's son. One action at a time, one person at a time, they built something that resembled acceptance. It wasn't perfect. It would never be perfect. But it was something. Spring came early that year. The snow melted fast, revealing ground that had been frozen for months. Tula's garden exploded with growth. Wildflowers bloomed across the plains, turning everything yellow and purple and red. Reed stood on his porch one morning, watching the sunrise, feeling something he hadn't felt in 7 years. Peace. Not the empty peace of being alone. The full peace of being surrounded by people he loved, who loved him back. Asha joined him, slipping her hand into his. Her belly was starting to swell just a little, barely noticeable unless you knew to look. But Reed knew. They all knew. New life growing against all odds. Are you happy? She asked. Yeah. I'm happy. You? Very happy. Scared but happy. Me too. They stood there together, watching the sun paint the sky gold and pink. Behind them, inside the cabin, Reed could hear Tojo laughing at something Ren said, could smell whatever amazing thing Tula was cooking for breakfast. His family, his home, his life. Reed, Asha said. Yeah. Thank you. For finding Tojo, for taking us in, for giving us this. I should be thanking you. You gave me a reason to be alive again. We gave each other reasons. That is what family does. Reed pulled her close, resting his hand on her belly, where their child grew. Their future. The product of two broken people who'd found each other in the snow and decided to be whole together. I love you, he said. I love you too. All of you. This strange, impossible family we have made. Tojo burst out onto the porch. Father, Mother, come eat, Aunt Tula made the good bread. They followed him inside into the warmth and noise and love that filled every corner of the cabin. The table was crowded, 5 plates, soon to be 6. The conversation was loud, switching between English and Apache, and sometimes both at once. The laughter was genuine. This was what Reed had been missing for 6 years. Not the absence of pain, pain would always be there, woven into his history, but the presence of joy alongside it. The balance. The fullness of a life actually lived instead of just endured. That afternoon, Lieutenant Graves rode up one final time. Reed saw him coming and felt his stomach drop. But when Graves dismounted, his face wasn't hard with accusation. It was tired, resigned. "Holston," he said. "Lieutenant. I'm being reassigned. Heading back east. My replacement doesn't care about chasing ghosts." He paused. "So I guess you won. Whatever you're doing here, whoever you're hiding, it's not my problem anymore." "I'm not hiding anyone. Just living my life with my family." Graves looked past Reed to where Asha stood in the doorway. He stared at her for a long moment. Reed tensed, ready to fight. Then Graves said, "Your wife's got kind eyes. Hope you treat her well." "I do. I will." "Good." Graves mounted his horse. "I don't know what's true and what's not, Holston. But I'm choosing to believe your version. Choosing to believe that sometimes people just need a second chance. So here's yours. Don't waste it." He rode off without looking back. Reed turned to find his entire family standing behind him. Asha, Ren, Tula, Tojo. All of them had heard. All of them knew what this meant. They were free. Not completely, not forever. But for now. For today. "Well," Ren said. "That was unexpected." "Good, unexpected," Tula added. Tojo grabbed Reed's hand. "Does this mean we can stay forever?" Reed looked down at his son, because that's what Tojo was, now his son, in every way that mattered. "Yeah, kid, we can stay. Forever." That night, they had a feast. Tula outdid herself making dishes that combined Apache traditions with the supplies they had available. They ate until they couldn't eat anymore, talked until their voices were hoarse, laughed until their sides hurt. After everyone else had gone to bed, Reed and Asha sat by the fire one last time. "Do you think it will last?" Asha asked. "This happiness?" "I don't know. Maybe not. World's too broken for guarantees. But I think we've got a real shot. And even if we don't, even if everything falls apart tomorrow, we had today. We had this. That counts for something." "It counts for everything." Reed pulled out his old army buckle, the one he'd given Tojo, but Tojo had given back to him this morning, with a shy smile, saying he didn't need it anymore, because he had something better, he had family. Reed turned the buckle over in his hands. All those years carrying the weight of who he'd been, what he'd done, who he'd lost. All that guilt and grief and loneliness compressed into one small piece of tarnished brass. He didn't need it anymore either. "Come on," Reed said, standing. "Let's bury this thing." They went outside into the cool spring night. Reed dug a hole near where he'd first found Tojo in the snow, that spot that had changed everything. He dropped the buckle in and covered it. "What are you burying?" Asha asked. "The past. All of it. The war, the guilt, the man I used to be. I'm done carrying it around." "And what will you carry instead?" Reed took her hand. "This. You, Tojo. Our family. Our future. That's enough. That's more than enough." They stood there in the dark, two people who'd been broken and lost, and had somehow found their way to each other. Two people who'd chosen love over fear, family over solitude, hope over despair. The wind blew soft across the plains, carrying the smell of sage and wildflowers. Inside the cabin, their family slept safe and warm, and for the first time in 7 years, Reed Holston felt complete. Not because he'd forgotten Mary and Sarah, he never would, and he didn't want to, but because he'd finally learned that the heart doesn't replace people. It makes room for new ones. It expands. It grows. It learns to hold both grief and joy, both memory and hope, both yesterday and tomorrow. Reed had found a starving Apache child in the snow, and 4 days later, 3 Apache women had stood at his door. He'd expected nothing. He'd offered everything. And in return, they'd given him something he thought he'd lost forever. They'd given him home. Not the building that was just wood and nails. Home was the people inside it. Home was Tojo's laugh, and Asha's strength, and Ren's fierce loyalty, and Tula's gentle wisdom. Home was chosen. Family gathered around a table that barely fit them all. Home was love that didn't ask permission from a world too broken to understand it. Reed Holston had spent 6 years as a ghost, haunting his own life. Now finally he was alive again. And whatever came next, whatever challenges, whatever threats, whatever hardships, he wouldn't face them alone. None of them would. Because that's what family does. That's what love does. It stands together against a world that says it shouldn't exist, and it exists anyway, fierce and stubborn and absolutely unbreakable. And that was enough. That would always be enough.